had always been a bit of a tech geek, the kind of person who set up smart home devices for fun. It started with a simple security system, motion sensors, automated locks, but the real game changer was the indoor cameras. They made me feel safer, knowing I could check in on my apartment at any time, from anywhere. But that feeling of security didn't last. In fact, it was the cameras that eventually made me afraid of my own home. It all started one quiet evening. I was sprawled out on my couch, mindlessly scrolling through my phone. The TV was on, playing an old movie I wasn't really watching. My laptop sat open on the coffee table, connected to the live feed from the security cameras. I had them positioned in a few key areas: the front door, the hallway, and the living room where I was sitting. I don't even know why I checked the feed. Maybe boredom, maybe habit. But the moment I did, a cold wave of unease washed over me. The live feed showed me I was sitting on the couch, just like I was in real life. But then, in the footage, I moved. I watched as I set my phone down, pushed myself up from the couch, and walked toward the kitchen. My stomach twisted into a knot. I hadn't moved. I was still sitting there, staring at the screen, frozen in place. And yet, on the feed, I saw myself disappear into the kitchen. My mind raced for explanations. A glitch? A recording playing instead of the live feed? But the timestamp on the screen showed it was streaming in real time. My chest tightened as I forced myself to look toward the kitchen. From where I sat, I could see the entrance. Dark, empty. No one had walked through. The silence in my apartment suddenly felt suffocating. Slowly, I turned back to my laptop, my hands clammy as I navigated the playback. I rewound the footage, my breath hitching as I watched myself rise from the couch again, just like before. But then, something new happened. The version of me on the screen paused at the kitchen entrance, and then turned around. My breath caught in my throat. The me in the footage slowly looked back toward the couch, toward where I was sitting in real life. And then, as if staring straight into my soul, he smiled. My body went rigid. The version of me on the screen stood at the kitchen entrance, grinning, a slow, unnatural expression that felt wrong on my own face. I didn't smile like that. The more I stared, the more it felt like the person on the screen wasn't me at all. My fingers trembled as I scrubbed the video back a few seconds, replaying the moment over and over. Each time, my doppelganger walked to the kitchen, paused, and then turned back with that eerie grin. But the worst part? Each time I replayed it, I swore the smile got bigger. My breathing grew shallow. I needed to check the kitchen. I didn't want to. I wanted to shut my laptop and pretend I'd never seen anything. But the logical part of my brain fought against the fear. If this was a glitch, I needed to prove it. If someone was in my apartment, I needed to know. Slowly, I forced myself up from the couch. My legs felt weak, and my skin prickled with a deep, primal dread. Step by step, I moved toward the kitchen, my heart hammering against my ribs. The air felt thick, heavy, like the room itself was holding its breath. I reached the entrance and peered inside. Nothing. Just the quiet hum of the refrigerator, the faint glow of the microwave clock. No signs of movement. No signs of me. I let out a shaky breath, but the relief didn't last long. From the living room, my laptop dinged, a notification from the security system. Motion detected. Living room. My stomach dropped. I turned back, my eyes flicking toward the couch. I was expecting to see the screen, the video feed still playing. But what I wasn't expecting, what made my knees almost buckle, was the reflection in the dark TV screen. Someone was sitting on the couch. And it wasn't me. I couldn't move. My entire body locked up as I stared at the reflection in the TV screen. There, sitting exactly where I had been moments ago, was me. Or at least something that looked like me. But there was something off. My posture was too stiff. My head tilted at an unnatural angle. And worst of all, that same unsettling grin stretched across its face, wider now, as if it knew I was watching. My breath hitched. I forced myself to turn around, dreading what I would see. The couch was empty. But I knew it wasn't. I had seen it. My reflection had seen it. My ears rang with the silence pressing in around me, my heart thudding so loudly I thought it might burst. My laptop dinged again. Motion detected. Kitchen. My skin went cold. I was in the kitchen. There shouldn't have been motion detected unless, no. I refused to look. My entire body screamed for me to run, to get out of the apartment, but I couldn't bring myself to move. Not until I heard it. A slow, deliberate creak. The sound of weight shifting against the floor. Right behind me. My breathing turned shallow. I felt it before I saw it. Something hovering just over my shoulder, close enough that I should feel breath on my neck, but there was nothing. Just a presence. Heavy. Unnatural. I clenched my fists, trying to muster the courage to turn around, to face whatever was standing there. But before I could, my laptop dinged again. Motion detected. Bedroom. My bedroom door was closed. I hadn't been in there since this morning. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. There were more of them. I wanted to believe it was a mistake, some kind of system error, a bug in the software. But deep down, I knew better. The camera wasn't wrong. Something was moving in my bedroom, and something was standing right behind me. My breath shuddered out in short, panicked bursts. I couldn't just stand there. I had to act. With every ounce of courage I could gather, I spun around, only to find empty space. Nothing. No one. But the air felt different, charged with something unseen. My skin prickled, my instincts screaming that I was not alone. My eyes darted back to my laptop, to the live feed of the bedroom. The screen showed my bed, the dresser, the closed closet door. At first it seemed still, but then movement. The closet door inched open. A sliver of darkness peeked through. My mouth went dry. I had lived in this apartment for 2 years. That closet door had never, not once, opened on its own. And then I saw it. A hand. Pale, thin fingers curled around the edge of the doorframe. Couldn't breathe. The hand tightened, its knuckles pressing against the wood. And then, slowly, deliberately, a face began to emerge from the darkness. My stomach lurched. It was my face. Hollow eyes. That same awful grin stretched too wide across its features. The doppelganger stepped forward, moving in a jerky, unnatural way, its head twitching as it crossed the threshold. I slammed my laptop shut. No, I wasn't doing this. I grabbed my keys off the counter and bolted for the front door. But just as I reached it, my phone vibrated in my pocket. I knew I shouldn't look. I knew, but my shaking hands betrayed me. I pulled it out and saw the notification on my lock screen. Face recognized. Front door camera. Beneath the text was a blurry, distorted image from the live feed. A figure standing right outside my apartment. My face. Smiling. I dropped my phone. My pulse pounded in my ears, drowning out every rational thought. I was trapped. Someone, was inside my apartment, but now there was another one outside my door. My mind raced, trying to process what was happening. I needed to get out. I needed to run. But where? My front door was no longer an escape, it was a trap. If I opened it, would I come face to face with myself? My hands trembled as I reached for the door's peephole, hesitating before pressing my eye against it. The hallway light flickered outside, casting strange shadows along the walls. First, I saw nothing. Then movement. Slowly, my own face drifted into view, grinning, its head tilting in that same unnatural way. The thing at my door raised a hand and knocked. 3 slow, deliberate taps. My breath hitched. My laptop dinged again behind me. Motion detected. Living room. My whole body tensed. The couch. I turned around just as the screen flickered back to life, the live feed glitching and distorting. My reflection was back. Sitting on the couch, smiling that horrible, twisted grin. But this time it wasn't just staring. It waved. The knock at the door came again. Tap, tap, tap. My phone vibrated on the floor where I had dropped it. I didn't want to look. Couldn't look. But some sick part of me had to know. I swallowed hard and glanced down. A new notification from my security app. Door unlocked. My stomach turned to ice. My front door creaked, the sound scraping through the silence like nails on a coffin lid. It was opening on its own. No, not on its own. The doppelganger outside was letting itself in. I stumbled backward, my vision tunneling as the door swung wider. The last thing I saw before the lights cut out, the thing that would haunt me forever, was my own face stepping inside, smiling. I never used to check my backyard camera. It was mostly there for peace of mind, installed after a string of break-ins in my neighborhood. Nothing ever really happened. Just the occasional raccoon or swaying tree branches setting off the motion sensor. But one night, the camera caught something different. Something I still can't explain. It started with a notification. Motion detected. Backyard. I was lying in bed, half asleep, when my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it, assuming it was just another false alarm. But for some reason, I tapped the app and opened the live feed. The night vision camera flickered for a moment before the image stabilized. At first, I didn't see anything. The yard was empty, the trees rustling slightly in the wind. But then my stomach clenched. There, at the farthest edge of my yard, half hidden in the darkness, stood a man. Tall, motionless, facing the camera. I sat up in bed, my heart hammering against my ribs. His features were obscured by the grainy quality of the night vision, but I could feel his stare. He didn't move, didn't shift, just stood there, as if he had been there for hours. I swallowed hard. Maybe it was a neighbor? A lost drunk? Someone who had wandered onto my property by mistake? I hovered my thumb over the microphone icon on the app, debating whether to speak through the camera's intercom. But something stopped me, a deep, instinctive sense of unease. Instead, I zoomed in, trying to get a better look. The closer I got, the more unnatural he seemed. His face, it wasn't right. Even through the distortion, I could tell something was off. His head was tilted too far to one side, his limbs slightly too long. Like his proportions weren't human. My phone buzzed again. Motion detected. Backyard. My breath caught. The image on the screen glitched for a split second, and when it cleared, he was closer. No longer at the edge of the yard. Now he stood just a few feet from the camera. I hadn't seen him move. He had just appeared there. My hands went clammy. I blinked hard, trying to convince myself it was just a trick of the night vision. But then, slowly, deliberately, he lifted his head. His face turned directly toward me, as if he knew I was watching. And then, with a sickening, impossible clarity, he smiled. My whole body went cold. That smile, it wasn't just a normal grin. It was wrong. Stretched too wide, teeth too white against the grainy black and white of the night vision. Like the mouth of something that was pretending to be human. My phone buzzed again. Motion detected. Backyard. My stomach clenched as the screen glitched, the image stuttering. When it cleared, my breath hitched. He was even closer. Now he stood directly in front of the camera, his face filling the screen. But the worst part? His mouth was still stretching, the smile widening into something unnatural, something grotesque. My ears rang with panic. This wasn't real. Couldn't be real. My backyard was fenced in, 6-foot wooden panels all around. No way in or out unless you had a key. And yet, he was there, watching me. My instincts screamed at me to turn on the backyard floodlights, to illuminate whatever was lurking out there. But something inside me, the part that still clung to logic, to survival, told me not to. Because deep down, I was terrified of what I might see. My phone buzzed again. Motion detected. Living room. I froze. What? My mind reeled, struggling to process. The backyard I could understand. Some lunatic could have jumped the fence. Sure. But the living room? No. No way. My heart pounded as I switched to the indoor camera feed. The screen flickered. The image was dark, grainy. The faint glow from the streetlights outside casting dim shadows across the room. At first, I didn't see anything. The couch, the coffee table, the empty floor. And then I spotted it. A figure, standing just inside the doorway. Tall, motionless, facing the camera, facing me. My stomach lurched. I knew that silhouette. It was him, the man from the backyard. But how? The doors were locked. The windows were shut. There was no way. My phone buzzed again. Motion detected. Bedroom. A sharp, electric terror shot through me. My bedroom. I was in my bedroom. My breath caught as I slowly turned my head, dreading what I would see. The room was dark, the only light coming from the glow of my phone screen. I held my breath, listening. The air was thick, heavy with silence. And then a whisper. Right behind me. I see you. A noise clawed at my throat, but I couldn't scream. My body refused to move. The whisper had been right behind me, close enough that I should have felt breath on my skin. But I didn't. Just the thick, suffocating weight of something wrong pressing in around me. My phone slipped from my hand, landing with a dull thud on the blanket. The glow from the screen cast eerie shadows across my room, but I didn't dare reach for it. I didn't dare turn around. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to run, but I couldn't move. My muscles locked up, frozen in pure primal terror. The silence stretched, stretching so thin I could hear the blood pounding in my ears. Then soft, subtle, a shift in the air, a creak of the floorboards. It was moving. A shudder ripped through my spine. I squeezed my eyes shut, my breath shallow, rapid. If I turned around, if I looked, would I see it? Would I see him? My phone buzzed again, vibrating against the blanket. I didn't want to check, but I had to. Slowly, I shifted my gaze downward, just enough to read the notification. Motion detected. Bedroom camera. I barely had time to process it before the screen flickered, switching to the live feed. The camera, mounted in the corner of my room, showed my bed, the dresser, the open door leading to the dark hallway. And then my heart stopped. There was something in the doorway, a shape, tall, standing just at the edge of the frame, watching me. I couldn't make out the details, just the silhouette, but I knew. I knew it was him. And then, without warning, the figure lurched forward. The screen glitched. My phone vibrated again. Motion detected. Right next to you. A shuddering breath escaped me. That wasn't the camera system. That wasn't the app. That was a message. A direct notification. And the second I processed those words, the whisper came again. This time inside my ear. Where am I now? I snapped. Survival took over. I lunged for my phone, my fingers barely managing to grip it as I rolled off the bed and sprinted toward the door. I didn't look back. I would not look back. If I saw it, if I saw him, I knew something terrible would happen. My feet barely touched the floor as I bolted down the hall, heart hammering against my ribs. The living room was dark, but I didn't stop to turn on the lights. My only thought was the front door. Get out. Get out now. I reached it, fumbled with the lock, my hands slick with sweat. The deadbolt wouldn't turn. My breath hitched. I twisted harder, panic rising like bile in my throat. And then I felt it, that same shift in the air, the sense of something right behind me. My entire body locked up. I didn't want to turn around. I knew I shouldn't turn around, but some sick, horrible instinct forced me to do it. Slowly, my head turned, and he was there, inches from my face. His features were sharper now, illuminated by the faint glow from the streetlights outside. He looked wrong, like a person whose skin didn't quite fit, whose limbs were slightly too long, whose eyes were just a bit too deep and dark. And that smile, too wide, too knowing. My body refused to move. He didn't touch me, didn't grab me. He just stood there, smiling, as if waiting for something. And then, my phone vibrated in my hand. New camera added, front door. My breath stalled. That wasn't possible. I hadn't installed a camera outside my front door. My fingers trembled as I hesitantly looked down at the screen. The live feed opened automatically, and the image it showed was me, standing inside the apartment, facing the door, smiling. My vision blurred with confusion, my brain unable to make sense of what I was seeing. That was me, right here, right now. But then, the version of me on the screen slowly tilted its head. And behind me, the man did the same. I barely had time to process it before my phone buzzed again. New camera added. Inside the house. My breath came in short, sharp bursts. The room felt wrong, like the walls had shifted, like reality itself had tilted slightly off axis. My phone vibrated again in my clammy grip. New camera added. Inside the house. My stomach twisted. I didn't install another camera. Couldn't have. My entire system was set up manually, and I was the only one who had access. My thumb hovered over the notification. I didn't want to open it. I did not want to see what was waiting for me on that feed. But my body betrayed me. The screen flickered, the new camera feed loading. And what I saw, it wasn't my front door anymore. It wasn't the living room, the hallway, or any place I recognized. It was a black screen. Pure darkness except for one thing. A face. Inches from the camera. My face. But it wasn't me. The features were distorted. Stretched. The eyes too dark. The mouth curled into that same impossible grin. And then, slowly, impossibly, the thing on the screen lifted a hand. My breath stalled. It wasn't just moving in the video. I could hear it. The soft creak of something shifting in the room. Right behind me. I didn't turn around. Couldn't. My body had locked up in pure terror. My heartbeat so loud it drowned out everything else. Then the camera feed glitched. The screen crackled with static, distorting the image, but not before I saw it. Not before I saw him move. The thing wearing my face stepped forward. The feed cut to black. My phone buzzed one last time. Where is he now? And then the lights went out. I never believed in ghosts. Sure, I loved a good horror movie. But the idea of something unseen lurking in the dark? It was nonsense. At least, that's what I told myself until the night my camera caught something I couldn't explain. Started with my cat. Luna was always independent. A typical lazy house cat who only moved when she felt like it. But one night, she started acting strange. I was out late, so I checked the pet camera I had set up in the hallway. The live feed flickered on, showing an empty hall, Luna sitting near the bedroom door. At first, she was just staring at something off-screen. Her ears twitched, her tail flicked, but she didn't move. Then, slowly, she started to back away. My brows furrowed. She never did that. Her back arched slightly, her fur standing on end. She was scared. But of what? The hallway was empty. My stomach tightened. I tapped the app's playback function and scrubbed back a few minutes. That's when I saw it. Motion detected. Hallway. I tapped the alert, heart thudding as the footage loaded. The screen showed Luna sitting calmly until she wasn't. At exactly 2:37 a.m., she froze. Her head snapped toward the bedroom door. And then the camera glitched. Just for a second. Barely noticeable. But when the feed cleared, the door was open. My pulse quickened. No, that wasn't right. I had closed it before leaving. Hadn't I? I scrubbed the footage back again. 2:36 a.m. Door closed. 2:37 a.m. Camera glitch. 2:37 a.m. Door open. My fingers felt numb as I replayed the moment over and over. I was looking for something, anything, to explain it. But the only thing I saw was Luna, staring at something that wasn't there. A deep unease settled over me. I sat in my parked car, staring at the camera feed on my phone, trying to rationalize what I'd just seen. A glitch, I told myself. Maybe the door wasn't fully shut, and a draft pushed it open. But that didn't explain Luna's reaction. She wasn't just watching the door. She was afraid of whatever she saw. I exhaled sharply and decided I had to see it for myself. I drove home faster than usual, my fingers drumming anxiously on the steering wheel. When I finally pulled into my driveway, the house looked the same as always, quiet, undisturbed. But something felt different, heavier. I stepped inside, flicking on the hallway light. My breath hitched. The bedroom door was closed. My stomach twisted into knots. I hadn't been home since morning. I had just watched the camera footage. The door had opened on its own. And now it was shut again. The air in the house felt thick, like the pressure had dropped. Luna was nowhere in sight. My hands were clammy as I pulled out my phone, opening the camera feed again. I hit live view. The screen flickered. The hallway looked exactly as it did in real life. Same dim lighting, same empty space. But then, as I watched, the motion sensor triggered. A red dot appeared on the screen. My blood ran cold. Something was moving in the hallway, but I was standing right there, and there was nothing. No person, no shadow. Just me. And then the screen glitched. Just for a second. The static cleared, and my breath hitched. The hallway was no longer empty. The bedroom door was open again. And this time, there was something standing in the doorway. My breath caught in my throat. The figure in the doorway was barely visible. Just a shape, a distortion in the grainy feed. It was tall, standing completely still, blending into the darkness like a shadow that wasn't supposed to be there. My hands tightened around my phone, my pulse hammering in my ears. The bedroom door was closed. I was staring at it, right in front of me, but on the screen it was open, and something was standing inside. My body refused to move. I watched, paralyzed, as the figure twitched slightly, shifting closer to the camera. The motion sensor blinked again. Something was moving in the hallway, but there was nothing there. Nothing I could see. A sharp, metallic noise broke the silence. I nearly dropped my phone. My gaze snapped toward the bedroom door. The handle was turning. No, 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 no. This wasn't happening. The knob rattled, harder this time, like something was testing it from the other side. I staggered back, my breath coming in short, panicked bursts. I wanted to run, but my legs felt like lead. My phone buzzed violently in my hand. Motion detected. Living room. My stomach turned to ice. I tore my eyes away from the bedroom door and glanced at the screen. The camera was picking up movement inside my house. The feed flickered again. And then the TV turned on by itself. The screen filled with static, casting an eerie glow across the empty living room. My own reflection flickered in the black glass. And behind me something moved. A figure, standing right at the edge of the hallway. I spun around so fast I nearly lost my balance. The hallway behind me was empty. But I knew. I had just seen something. My reflection hadn't lied. My breathing was ragged, my entire body screaming at me to get out. But I was frozen, caught between the overwhelming need to run and the sickening compulsion to look closer. My phone buzzed violently in my hand. Motion detected, hallway. No. The motion sensor wasn't supposed to trigger unless something was here. I swallowed hard and slowly lifted my phone, bringing the camera feed back up. The screen flickered, struggling to stabilize. The hallway camera was active now, showing my own back. I was standing there, exactly as I was in real life. And behind me, just beyond my shoulder, was Luna. I nearly sobbed with relief. She had been hiding, probably terrified. I turned, ready to scoop her up and get the hell out. But Luna wasn't there. I whipped my head back to my phone. The camera feed was still showing her, sitting in the hallway, looking directly at me. But the real hallway, empty. A suffocating weight pressed against my chest. My hands trembled as I watched my cat, the version of her on the screen. Slowly, her ears flattened, her tail puffed up, and then she lifted her gaze, staring at something behind me. My entire body went cold. I knew what was about to happen. I knew, but I still made the mistake of turning around. I turned, and the bedroom door was open. Not halfway, not slightly ajar, wide open, yawning into darkness. My stomach twisted into a painful knot. I hadn't heard it move. I hadn't heard a single creak. But somehow, without a sound, it had opened while my back was turned. The air in the room felt thick, charged with something unseen, something watching. My phone buzzed in my trembling hand. Motion detected. Bedroom. No, I refused to look at the screen. I didn't need to. I could feel it. Something was in there, standing just beyond the threshold. My entire body locked up. My instincts screamed at me to run, to get out, but my feet refused to move. And then I heard it. A faint, dragging sound, like fabric brushing against the floor, coming toward me. My breath hitched. My fingers clenched around my phone as the motion sensor pinged again. And again. And again. Whatever was in the bedroom was getting closer. I forced myself to move, stumbling backward. My legs nearly gave out as I turned toward the front door, But the second I did, the TV shut off. The house plunged into darkness. The only light came from my phone screen, casting eerie shadows across the walls. I lifted it with shaking hands, staring at the live feed. The bedroom camera was still active. The doorway was empty, but the motion sensor was still blinking. And then the feed glitched, just for a second. But when it cleared, my breath caught in my throat. There was something in the hallway. Not a shadow, not a glitch. A figure crawling toward me. I didn't think. I ran. I didn't stop to grab anything. I didn't care. I wrenched open the front door and bolted outside, sprinting down the driveway with no plan, no direction. I just had to get away. The cold night air stung my skin as I finally stopped, my lungs burning. My hands were still gripping my phone in a death grip. The screen flickered. The camera feed was still running. My heart slammed against my ribs as I forced myself to look. The hallway was empty. The bedroom door was closed. Everything looked exactly as it had before, like nothing had ever happened. Except for one thing. Luna. She was sitting in the hallway again, staring directly at the camera. Her eyes were wide, unblinking, and then she turned her head, slowly, looking toward the bedroom door. A moment later, the camera feed cut to black. My phone buzzed one last time. New guest detected. It started with the sleepwalking, or at least that's what I thought it was. I had never been a restless sleeper, never woken up in strange places or found myself moving without remembering it. But one night, my bedroom camera told a different story. I had set it up a few months ago, mostly for security, an extra layer of peace of mind since I lived alone. It was motion activated, sending short clips to my phone whenever something triggered it. Usually, it was nothing, just me shifting in bed or the occasional flicker of headlights passing by my window. But then, I got the first notification. Motion detected. 2:48 a.m. I groggily unlocked my phone, expecting to see a short clip of me rolling over. Instead, I saw myself lying still. Too still. The video started normally. I was on my side, breathing softly. Then, about 10 seconds in, I opened my eyes. My stomach clenched. I didn't sit up. I didn't move at all. Just lay there, perfectly still, eyes wide open, staring directly at the camera. I didn't remember waking up. I didn't remember this at all. The clip ended after 20 seconds, the motion sensor apparently deciding nothing else had happened. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. Maybe I had been half asleep. Maybe it was just a weird sleep habit I had never noticed before. But something about the way I stared into the camera, the way I didn't blink, unsettled me. I turned off my phone and rolled over, willing myself to forget it. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. And when I got another motion alert the next night, I was too afraid to watch it. I ignored the notification at first, left my phone face down on my nightstand and tried to go back to sleep. But the thought wouldn't leave me alone. What had I done this time? Did I wake up again? Did I just lie there, staring? My fingers curled into the blanket. I told myself it didn't matter, that checking the footage would only make my paranoia worse. But at 3:12 a.m., I got another alert. Motion detected. 3:12 a.m. My breath stalled. This wasn't normal. It had only been 20 minutes since the last one. Slowly, with trembling hands, I picked up my phone and opened the app. The first clip loaded. Just like before, I was lying on my side, completely still. But something was different this time. My body looked tense. My arms were rigid, fingers curled slightly like I was gripping the sheets. And then my head moved. Not a twitch, not a natural shift in sleep. I turned my head, slowly, deliberately, toward the camera. My stomach twisted into knots. My body on the screen was still asleep, but my face was awake. My eyes were wide open. And then the second clip started. 3:12 a.m. My body lay frozen in bed, completely stiff, staring straight ahead. And then I sat up, but the way I moved, it wasn't normal. It was too smooth, like something pulling the strings. My head cocked at a slight angle, lips parting as if I was about to speak. I leaned forward slightly, staring past the camera, at something in the dark corner of my room. Then the clip cut to black. My heart slammed against my ribs. I was awake now, fully awake. I scrambled to turn on my bedside lamp, but my hands were shaking too hard. And then a sound. A creak. Right next to my bed. I stopped breathing. The creak had come from the floor, right beside me. I couldn't move. Couldn't even blink. Every nerve in my body screamed to look, to see if something was standing there. But I couldn't, because I knew that if I looked I wouldn't be alone. My heart pounded against my ribs. I forced myself to reach for my phone, my fingers shaking so violently that I almost dropped it. I switched to the live feed, the camera flickering on. The screen showed my bedroom in grainy, low-light black and white. The bed, the nightstand, the empty space next to me. Nothing was there. But then my stomach turned to ice. The blankets, they were pulled back. The side of the bed next to me was empty. The shape of a body was missing from the mattress, like something had been lying there, but wasn't anymore. The motion sensor light blinked red. My entire body locked up. I had never seen it do that in real time. I sucked in a sharp breath and slowly lifted the phone higher, tilting the camera angle upward. Just enough to see beyond the bed. Just enough to see a figure standing in the doorway. I bit down on a scream. My vision blurred with panic. The shape was tall, motionless, facing me. But the camera feed was too grainy, too dark to make out any features. And then my phone vibrated. Face recognized. Bedroom camera. My stomach dropped. It was tracking me. No. That wasn't possible. The camera only tagged me when I was lying in bed, when it recognized my face. But I was holding my phone. I wasn't in the frame anymore. My mouth went dry. My hands felt numb as I tapped the notification, forcing the camera to analyze the image. It took a second, one unbearable second, before the AI recognition system finally loaded. Face recognized. Unknown. A shudder ripped through my spine. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. But my body wouldn't move. My eyes darted back to the screen. The figure in the doorway was closer. My breath hitched. It hadn't moved. Shouldn't have moved. But now it was standing right at the foot of my bed, just out of the camera's view. My fingers hovered over the screen, too afraid to lower the phone, too afraid to see it in real life. The motion light blinked red again. And then the figure on the screen tilted its head. I bit down on a sob. No. I wasn't doing this. I wasn't doing this. I squeezed my eyes shut and lunged for the lamp. My fingers fumbled, searching desperately for the switch. The air around me felt wrong, thick with something unseen, something waiting. The bulb flared to life, and the room was empty. No one in the doorway, no one in the bed, just me, and the blankets still pulled back. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't dare. By morning, I had convinced myself it was a dream, a horrible, vivid nightmare. But when I checked my phone, the footage was still there. Every second of it. The staring, the sitting up, the thing standing in my doorway. I deleted the app, turned off the camera. But that night, as I lay in bed, eyes squeezed shut, I heard it. A faint creak, right next to me. The first notification didn't scare me. Not at first. It was late, 2:42 a.m., when my phone vibrated on my nightstand, pulling me from the edges of sleep. I blinked blearily at the screen, expecting some useless spam email or a weather alert. Instead, I saw a message from my smart security system. Front door open. A jolt of confusion snapped me fully awake. My apartment had a smart lock, one that I controlled through my phone. It shouldn't unlock unless I did it myself. I sat up, heart already pounding, and swiped to open the security app. The live camera feed flickered on, showing my front porch. The door was wide open, swinging slightly in the night breeze. My stomach twisted. I knew I had locked it before going to bed. I always double-checked. My hands were clammy as I flipped to the indoor camera, the one facing the front entrance. The screen loaded. The living room was empty. I let out a shaky breath. Maybe the lock had malfunctioned? A power surge? A glitch? But then, my phone buzzed again. Motion detected. Living room. My breath hitched. I stared at the screen, frozen. Something was inside. My fingers trembled as I tapped the notification, switching back to the live feed. The camera flickered for a moment, the screen distorting, and then I saw it. The front door was closed. But I hadn't moved. I hadn't touched the lock. And yet, somehow, the door that had been wide open just seconds ago was now shut, as if it had never moved. A cold wave of unease crept over me. Maybe it was a system malfunction? A delayed signal? That had to be it. That had to. My phone buzzed again. Motion detected. Living room. I swallowed hard. My eyes darted back to the screen. The feed flickered. The empty room appeared again. Except it wasn't empty. Something was standing in the middle of the living room. A figure. Tall. Completely still. Facing the camera. Facing me. My stomach twisted into knots. No one was supposed to be in my apartment. And then, the lights in the living room turned off. The camera feed went black. My blood turned to ice. The lights in my apartment had just turned off by themselves. The live feed was pitch black now, the camera struggling to adjust to the sudden darkness. I sat frozen in bed, gripping my phone so tightly my fingers ached. My mind raced for an explanation. A power surge? A circuit issue? But that didn't explain the figure. The one I had just seen standing in my living room. I hesitated, then tapped the brightness control on the app, switching the camera to night vision. The screen flickered, static fuzzing at the edges before the image cleared. And then, my breath caught in my throat. The figure was still there. But now, in the eerie glow of night vision, I could see it more clearly. It wasn't just standing still. It was closer. No. I scrubbed back through the footage, rewinding 5 seconds. The figure didn't move. I played it forward again. The figure still didn't move. And yet, it was closer, like it had skipped forward. My chest tightened with panic. Something was wrong. Then my phone buzzed. Another notification. Motion detected, hallway. I almost dropped the phone. The hallway. That was closer to my bedroom. I wasn't alone. A sharp, icy terror gripped my chest. The hallway. Couldn't breathe. The figure had been in the living room just seconds ago. How could it already be closer? My shaking hands hovered over my phone as I switched to the hallway camera. The screen flickered, struggling to load. The connection was slower now, lagging like something was interfering with it. Then the feed cleared. My stomach twisted into a painful knot. The hallway was empty, but the motion sensor had detected something. I stared at the screen, my breath coming in short, panicked bursts. My bedroom door was at the far end of the hall, still closed. But my gut screamed that something was wrong. I squinted at the image, searching for any movement, any shadow. And then I saw it. The closet door. It had been slightly open a moment ago. Barely an inch. Now it was open wider. I hadn't touched it. My vision blurred with fear. I forced myself to check the playback. The footage glitched for a second. When it cleared, the closet door had moved. But nothing had touched it. And then, the camera caught movement. A shape, low to the ground, crawling out of the closet. I clamped a hand over my mouth to stifle a scream. The screen glitched again. And when the feed returned, the hallway was empty. No sign of what had just crawled out. And then my bedroom door creaked. The sound sent a jolt of pure terror down my spine. My bedroom door was moving. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The air in my room felt thick, suffocating, like something was pressing against it. My phone buzzed in my shaking hands. Another notification. Motion detected. Bedroom. No. I didn't want to look. Couldn't look. But some twisted, horrifying instinct forced my gaze down to the screen. The live feed flickered. Then it loaded. My stomach dropped. The bedroom camera showed my bed. The nightstand. The door opened just a crack. But what made my vision blur with fear was the blanket. It was pulled back. like someone had just gotten out of bed. But I was still lying here. I hadn't moved. A sharp ringing filled my ears. My entire body locked up in pure, primal terror. I clenched my jaw, forcing myself to check one last thing. I slowly tilted my phone, just enough to use the selfie camera. The screen reflected my darkened room, the bed, the open door, and then I saw it, a figure, standing right behind me, smiling. The lights went out. My phone buzzed one final time. Door open.